Have you ever just stopped to wonder about the words we use all the time,
Yeah.
especially place names?
Yeah, names you say constantly.
Exactly. They become sort of invisible, don't they? Just background noise.
Yeah.
But what if they're actually holding secrets, like ancient codes just sitting there?
Whispering things from way back.
Precisely. And today, we're going to try and crack one of those codes. We're diving deep into the name China and also his native name, Zhōngguó.
And we're doing this using a really interesting framework, the Odam-Tilly theory. It's definitely not your standard linguistics approach.
No, it gives a very different perspective on where words might come from.
Right. So our mission really is to see if these names, China, Zhōngguó, might actually hold these ancient symbolic layers.
Layers connecting back to what? Nature? Gestures.
Exactly. Sounds in nature, physical gestures, and maybe even a hidden history of nomadic language. It's about peeling back what we think we know.
Okay, let's unpack China first. We use it constantly, right? Sounds simple enough. But this Odam-Tilly theory, it suggests there's something profound encoded just in the sound itself. What could that possibly be?
Well, the really fascinating core idea of Odam-Tilly is that every sound we make, every phoneme, isn't arbitrary. It has roots in nature.
Roots in nature. How so?
But like the sounds themselves echo something physical. And words then preserve these ancient connections, these symbolic layers. It goes deeper than just how language has changed over time.
Okay, interesting. So every sound has a root. Let's take the chi sound in China. What's the Odam-Tilly take on chi? What does it evoke?
Right. The chi, according to the theory, it specifically echoes the sound of something small breaking. Think of like snapping tiny dry branches.
Okay, I can kind of hear that. Smallness.
Smallness, pieces, fragments. It argues this connection shows up in other words too, like child, a small person.
Huh.
Or look at Uzbek. The word Chinamak, it means to chew food into tiny parts, crushing something small. There's even this folk idea passed down orally that small branches specifically make that chi sound when they break.
That link between chi and smallness, it feels surprisingly intuitive when you point it out. But how do we get from that one sound to the meaning of China?
Well, the theory proposes a pretty direct breakdown.
Okay.
Chi is for that smallness we just talked about. In is just the preposition inside. And A signifies the space it covers, the area.
So put it together.
Put it together. And the encoded Odam-Tilly meaning of China is the place where small people gather inside a space.
Wow. Small people gather inside a space. That's quite an interpretation. Suggests a certain kind of beginning, maybe?
Perhaps. It's definitely a different lens.
Okay, now let's switch gears. What about how the Chinese themselves refer to their country? Zhōngguó, usually translated as Middle Kingdom, right?
Right. Middle Kingdom is the common translation. But Odam-Tilly suggests, again, that there's much more symbolism packed in there. It's not just about being geographically in the middle.
So, applying the same logic, how does Odam-Tilly break down Zhōngguó? Let's start with Jing, which sounds a bit like Chun.
Exactly. And that zhen or chun sound, from the Odam-Tilly perspective, is fascinating. It symbolizes the middle finger.
The middle finger. Why the middle finger specifically?
Because think about it, among the 5 fingers, it's the highest. That makes it symbolically the biggest, the central one, even the elder.
Okay, highest central elder. Is there linguistic backup for that?
Yes. For example, in the Kyrgyz language, zhen or chun actually means big or elder, like they'd say zhen quiz for the eldest daughter. So it connects centrality with being primary or the most significant.
So zit or chins is like a finger pointing up, a visual symbol almost in the sound. Okay, what about the end part of zhun?
Good question. The shin connects to on, which means 10 in Uzbek.
10.
10, as in the maximum number of fingers on 2 hands. So it adds this idea of completeness or totality to this central finger symbol, a whole set.
Right, makes sense. Central finger, 10 fingers total. And the second part, guā. What does that bring to the table?
Guā is seen as a combination. You have gizhi, which represents heads or people.
Heads, like individuals.
Individuals, yeah. And yua, which means gathered or collected on that specific space or area. So gyu is literally about people gathering in a place.
Okay, let me try and piece this together. Jun is the central, highest finger, linked to 10 for completeness. Guā is people, heads, gathered in a space.
Exactly.
So the full Odam-Tilly meaning of Zhōngguó would be...
It would be something like the central space where people or heads are gathered together, almost like 10 fingers gathered into 2 complete hands. It implies this core gathering place, a central point.
A central gathering point. This whole idea of centrality being highest. You mentioned it has echoes in Turkic culture beyond just the words themselves.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just abstract theory. It's deeply embedded. For instance, among Kipchak and other Turkic groups, there's this really important word, Chongori.
Chongori.
Chongori. It basically means the greatest, the one above others, always highest. You can hear the echo of Chin in there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And this word, Chongori, it embodies both those meanings we talked about, the middle finger being the highest of the five, and the idea of the greatest, proudest lineage among the tribes. It's a core cultural concept shaping identity.
So this wasn't just, a neat linguistic idea. It was taught. Part of how people saw themselves.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It was woven into life. Elders would actively teach children from a really young age. They'd say things like, you are Chongori, you carry the greatness of your tribe. It was part of their upbringing.
How would they teach that, though? Especially if books weren't common.
That's a great question, and it leads to something quite remarkable. The candlelight wolf ritual.
Candlelight wolf. Tell me more.
Imagine, the power goes out in the village. Children are studying by candlelight. The parents or grandparents would use their hands to cast shadows on the wall.
Okay.
And they would form the shape of a wolf's head with their fingers in the flickering light.
Wow. Just a shadow on the wall.
Just a shadow. But it carried a profound message. This silent show, it whispered to the child something powerful.
What was the message?
It whispered, you are the children of the wolf. Strong, free, fearless.
Children of the wolf. That resonates with other myths, doesn't it? Like Rome.
Exactly. It connects to that almost universal nomadic archetype, like the she-wolf nurturing Romulus and Remus. The core message to the child in that moment was, you are Turkic. You are Chongori. You are great. It connected them directly to their heritage, their identity, their strength.
That's incredibly powerful. A ritual encoding identity and ambition. So bringing this back to Zhōngguó, from this Odam Tili perspective, the name isn't just descriptive geography. It's tied to this deep cultural ambition, this Chongori idea.
That's the argument, yes.
But that's quite a leap, isn't it? Connecting a linguistic theory and a cultural concept directly to historical ambition on a grand scale. Can we ground this a bit? Are there historical patterns that seem to fit this interpretation?
Well, the Odam Tili theory suggests you can see this playing out in history. The persistence of the idea of Zhōngguó, the Middle Kingdom, isn't seen as just chance. It reflects a very specific cultural drive rooted in Turkic civilization.
A drive to be what?
To be central, to stand at the center, to be the highest among equals, the axis around which others gather. And you see wave after wave of Turkic groups doing just that, inserting their political and military power right into the heart of that vast land.
Which groups are we talking about?
Think about the Xiongnu, the Gökturks, the Uyghurs, the Khitan, the Mongols, who had strong Turkic alliances, and even later, someone like Emir Timur and his conquests.
So these groups conquered, but how do they perpetuate this idea of centrality, according to the theory?
Each wave often involved placing trusted Turkic commanders in key positions to maintain order, collect tribute. These commanders, they didn't just rule, they essentially planted seeds of their own bloodlines.
Seeds that assimilated.
Exactly. They assimilated, intermarried, ruled, blended with the local elites over generations. But crucially, the theory suggests these commanders and their descendants carried forward that core Chongori idea they learned as kids.
The candlelight wolf idea.
Yes, the you are the center, you are the peak, you are the living axis idea. It became embedded in their approach to ruling this central land.
So this gives the name Zhōngguó a completely different flavor.
Yeah.
What's the ultimate implication, then, from this viewpoint?
The implication is that Zhōngguó, the Middle Kingdom, isn't just a name the Han or later Chinese dynasties adopted. In this Odam Tili perspective, it's actually a surviving echo of that Turkic ambition.
An echo of what specifically?
An echo of the ambition to hold that symbolic middle finger position the highest among peers, to be the guo, the gathering point for peoples, tribes, kingdoms, and to keep alive a civilization where that wolf's spirit of freedom and, say, an eagle's perspective from height are reborn constantly.
It's really striking. The idea that such deep concepts, such historical weight, could be packed into names, into rituals, and then sort of fade from common knowledge.
It is. And, very few people today remember that this idea of being central, this core role, might have spread on horseback, carried by mounted archers.
Or whispered by grandmothers making wolf shadows.
Precisely. But the argument from Odam Tili theory is that even if it's forgotten history, the hidden layers are still there, living on in the language. China and Zhōngguó remain these coded names, potentially pointing back to a time shaped significantly by Turkic thought and power.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for us, for you listening? This deep dive seems to show that maybe no word is truly empty, right?
Not at all. It suggests language itself is like a living code. Every sound, maybe every letter, isn't just random. It could be a tiny piece of the physical world, an echo of nature, or a gesture.
Like just for smallness.
Right, or Jin for the highest finger, Jin for the 10 fingers, Guo for those gathered heads. It's all potentially encoded.
And it's shown us how one place, through China and Zhōngguó, could be encoded with these dual ideas, small fragments gathering, and being the central highest point. That's fascinating.
It really is, and it leaves you wondering, that dream, that ambition to stand right in the middle, to be the greatest, the highest finger, the point where the world gathers. The theory argues that's a logic with deep Turkic roots.
Carried through conquests, words, myths.
Exactly, carried forward constantly, which makes you think, doesn't it? What other words that you use every day might be holding on to profound secrets, just waiting for someone to decipher their hidden code?